More projects and initiatives highlighted during 2014 budget debate. More training for health sector professionals and national youth policy being finalized. You're watching Weekly Digest, a production of the Government Information Agency that keeps you updated on what the government has been doing. With the details, I'm your host, Pindia Tumeshwar. The Labor Ministry continues to train thousands of youths and single parents every year. But what happened to those who have successfully completed these programs? Well, last year alone, the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency found jobs for over 2,500 people.
In the area of the Board of Industrial Training, Mr. Speaker, the total number of persons trained in 2013 was 2,304, with the apprenticeship program having 95 youths who commenced training at Port Morant, 68 of whom were Gaisuko Training Center at Port Morant, 10 at Barama, GPL 17, and this lot represented the largest block of apprentices under the BIT scheme for a number of years.
Under the National Training Project for Youth Empowerment, 1,537 persons were trained in various fields as well as 447 single parents. Machinery was procured to provide training in the area of heavy-duty machinery operation, a skill that is in high demand.
We also have had extended programs where 113 persons were certified at the Forestry Training School, 112 at the evening class program conducted by Gaisuko, mostly in the area of information technology. Those at the Forestry Training School have been conducted in the area of forestry, harvesting, and other activities. Mr. Speaker, because we have attached great importance to the Board of Industrial Training scheme, a number of companies have applied, and we have examined their applications with what they are doing, and we certified over this period new companies in addition to Gaisuko, GPL, and GNIC, which existed before. We've added to that Barama Company Limited. The Republic Bank has been approved, and we are in consultation with them on their training program for school leavers in the banking industry. And we are working with the Forestry Commission, which we will certify them as a masters under that program.
This year, the Central Recruitment and Manpower Agency will be further centralized with the deployment of more recruitment and placement officers in every region to ensure that persons not only benefit from training programs but gain employment as well. The CRMA services could also be accessed via the internet. The sum of $382.5 million has been allocated to consolidate efforts made towards the delivery of child care and protection services. The licensing and training of staff of approximately 300 daycare facilities are among the measures to be implemented.
Work is currently ongoing on the completion of regulations for the Child Care and Development Services Act 2011, and this will be completed shortly. It will support the registering and licensing of daycare facilities and the privately managed children's homes and orphanages. It will be a requirement that all these facilities operate at the minimum operational standards, or cease operation. Registration and licensing officers are currently being recruited and will be trained. The Child Care and Protection Agency will conduct an awareness campaign to sensitize the providers of daycare facilities on the prescribed requirements for the operation of these facilities.
In addition, training will be conducted in all regions to equip approximately 2,000 parents and caregivers with skills and information to improve their parenting capacity.
Whilst there are some children who will have to remain in institutional care, greater emphasis will be placed on monitoring the 19 privately managed children's homes in Guyana to ensure that the operations of these homes are in accordance with the minimum operational standards and guidelines in place.
Increased emphasis will be placed on strengthening interagency collaboration, increasing support to families, and raising awareness to prevent, detect, and address instances of child abuse. Further efforts will continue to be directed at strengthening the skills and capacity of those children who are ready to be phased out of the formal care system and to live independently through the operationalization of the halfway home.
The halfway transitional home for children, which will be housed in the recently renovated building located at Sophia, will facilitate the aging out of children from the formal care system. Among other activities to be undertaken by the agency as part of services that will be developed for vulnerable children is to have included increased mental health services being provided for our vulnerable children and their families.
Meanwhile, one-stop centers which offer psychosocial support and video recording facilities will be expanded, as well as the TELL campaign for breaking the silence on child sexual abuse.
There's more to come, please stay tuned. The importance of road linkages in Guyana's hinterland to propel economic growth and improve access to services is fully recognized. To this end, Budget 2014 has allocated $1 billion to rehabilitate critical interior roads, including the Linden to Lethem Road.
Pensioners will enjoy a 50% increase in assistance, bringing it to $30,000 per annum for pensioners who are customers of the Guyana Power and Light Company Incorporated. Further, old age pension is to be increased by 5% with effect from May 1, 2014 to $13,125 monthly, targeting the 42,500 senior citizens.
Government's investment in rural development will be further strengthened this year with the sum of $1 billion which has been provided in the 2014 national budget. The sum will go towards infrastructure such as roads, bridges, drainage and irrigation, and community market facilities, along with entrepreneurial activity in rural communities. Evidence of government's commitment to the sugar industry, Budget 2014 makes a provision of $6 billion to Gaisuku to help the industry reverse its fortunes. The provision will redound to the benefit of the 18,000 workers and their families and to the other 120,000 persons directly or indirectly benefiting from the industry.
Minister of Housing Irfan Ali, during the first day of the 2014 budget debate, said that Finance Minister Dr. Ajni Singh has led Guyana through 8 consecutive years of economic growth and that Guyana had the highest growth ratio in the Caribbean for 2013.
Minister Ali alluded to the fact that international and regional bodies also recognized the economic strides. The minister quoted reports on the country's economic performances as mentioned by international bodies such as the Economic Commission for Latin America, ECLAC, and others. Quoting regional headlines, the minister pointed to issues affecting other Caribbean countries and government's commitment to building the country and creating homes and jobs for citizens through many projects proposed.
Guyana in 2013 is the highest. Guyana in 2013 is the highest in terms of our growth in the Caribbean, according to a 2013 report by ECLAC. And this is what that report had to say. Economic and social panorama of the community of Latin America and Caribbean states. And I quote, based on this report, Caribbean economies recorded the following growth rates for 2013. Jamaica, 0.1%. Trinidad and Tobago, St. Kitts, Nevis, Bahamas, Belize, 1.6%. St. Lucia, 1.1%. Grenada, Antigua, and Barbuda, 1.5%. Dominica, negative 0.5%. Barbados, negative 0.7%. And Guyana, 5.2%.
The rapid growth of Guyana's economy is due to the implementation of prudent microeconomic policies leading to the 2013 growth of 5.2%, representing 8 years of uninterrupted positive growth. Minister Ali said too that notwithstanding the efforts of the combined opposition to create uncertainties and make the local business environment unattractive, the evidence of the country's economic and social progress is beyond question. The minister also quoted other sources such as the Inter-American Development Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which noted that the success of Ghana provides good policy examples for other countries in the Caribbean to replicate. Some of the stories mentioned include Barbados government borrowing $14 million per month to pay 7,000 casual workers. St. Lucia's PM calls for a reduction in government spending. Wages freeze could go beyond 2017. Grenada government unable to pay arrears to public servants, and in Trinidad, 24,700 job losses. The 2014 budget represents another prudent fiscal presentation aimed at sustaining and expanding the economic opportunities of Guyanese, another effort by the PPPC's administration to improve the social performance and to continue the process of building a productive and prosperous nation for all Guyanese, the minister said.
Amerindian Affairs Minister Pauline Sukai said that Amerindian students' access to education has improved as a result of the number of measures taken by the government, and it's far different from what existed 20 years ago. The minister during her budget debate presentation pointed to numerous Amerindians accessing teacher training at the Cyril Potter College of Education.
The enrollment of Amerindian teachers, and just teachers, were so minimal, very minimal. The hinterland schools depended mostly on coastland teachers, who of course gave their best. Since the PPP Civic took office, there has been a complete turnaround. Mr. Speaker, today, if you visit the hinterland and you go to the nursery, primary, and even the 12 or 13 secondary school, which have been refurbished, rebuilt, and established by this government, the majority of those manning, administrating, and delivering education are Amerindian teachers.
More Amerindians also have access to other forms of higher education through the Cuban Scholarship Program.
One example, Martha George, a student of the Waramadang Secondary School, who received quality education under this government, has successfully finished her medical degree in Cuba and has returned earlier this year to serve. Isn't this an evidence of equity towards access to quality education that the PPP Civic government has pioneered? Even the Honorable Member Hastings, who sits on the opposite side, is a beneficiary of safe, quality education. And I would like to congratulate her for remaining in the sector to serve her people. Let me underscore that over the last 20 years, the Hinterland Scholarship Program has produced more than 70,000 Hinterland students. And in 2014, Region 7 registered the second highest number of such students in the program. Isn't that access to quality and equitable education?
In addition to education, Amerindian students are benefiting from other initiatives such as the school feeding, hot meal, and uniform programs. Hinterland students will benefit from the government's provision this year of a $10,000 cash grant to parents of every child attending nursery, primary, and secondary schools in the public school system. Meanwhile, Minister within the Ministry of Finance, Juan Edgehill, said that the country's economic growth is due to prudent fiscal management.
Minister Edgehill, defending Budget 2014, outlined the country's economic prosperity and its three-pronged approach, which targets the well-being of citizens. He pointed out that the budget was focused on creating employment, business opportunities, and preparing people to take advantage of the opportunities.
There's a role for government. There's a role for the citizens. And what government is seeking to do is to ensure that there is partnership at all sectors to ensure that the beauty of our dreams are realized.
The minister also observed that there were provisions in the budget for dealing with solid waste, monies for school children, provisions for the elderly, and increased revenue collection. He also lauded the housing, health, education, tourism, and agriculture sectors. Minister Edgehill also pointed to hinterland development along with planned transformational projects such as the Amaila Falls, CJIA expansion, Specialty Hospital, and Marriott Hotel, among others. The minister also defended the budget budgetary allocations to the National Communications Network and the Government Information Agency, which the opposition has hinted their intention to disapprove funding on the grounds that the entities only serves the party in government.
GINA's job is to present the views and programs and projects of the government. And it has always been so. Mr. Speaker, I heard someone saying that GINA is just about press releases and government features.
That's what his job is.
But Mr. Speaker, all the persons who have threatened to cut GINA or to reject the appropriations for GINA, they must know there are 40 persons employed. If you're talking about jobs, you're not supposed to be putting people out of jobs.
Pointing to the accusations made by the opposition that GINA is simply a mouthpiece for the ruling party, Minister Edgehill stated that the People's Progressive Party has the ability to represent itself through its own party organs. He also pointed to the fact that the non-functioning of the agency would also curb the constitutional rights of thousands of Guyanese to receive the information needed on the work of government and their programs and projects planned. The minister also added that cutting GINA's budget would be a direct attack on the press freedom of the agency, curbing its right to perform its function. The opposition, using their one-seat majority, cut GINA's budget in 2012 and 2013, along with other allocations for major projects and entities.
Local Government Minister Norman Whitaker urged members of the opposition to put Guyana first, as several issues on local governance were addressed during the budget debates.
Whilst addressing the issue of the Marion City Council during the 2014 budget debates, Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Norman Whitaker pointed to the funds allocated for the cleanup of the city and the call for it to be given outright to the municipality.
During 2013, we acquired 825 collection containers of varying sizes, 240 liters, 660 liters, 1100 liters. These bins, 458 of them were distributed to NDCs in Region 4 and in public spaces, which include health centers, schools, community centers. 367, we are in the process of distributing those in public spaces in the Georgetown municipality. We have asked the Ministry of Public Works to help us identify those spaces and the City Council, and those will be distributed there. The list, we also have some collection trucks that were purchased. 2 21 cubic meter rear compactor and 2 8 cubic meter rear compactor. These trucks are intended to surface the collection bins, which were distributed to the NDCs. Also, some cleanup was done on the East Coast and the East Bank. That is in respect of several satellite dump sites within NDC's areas. Public awareness, that is part of the project. During 2014, we will procure a landfill compactor. We will procure laboratory equipment to perform environmental testing. That is the H-Bush landfill site. We will procure a hook lift truck. There will be the closure of the Low Repentier landfill site, the partial closure of the Lusignan dump site, the closure of the Grove dump site. A lot of work. My friends at the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development, we keep reaching out.
This year, additional resources will be made available to the 65 neighborhood democratic councils to be spent on roads, bridges and culverts, as well as for the excavation of trenches. NDCs and the municipalities have also been given access to additional resources.
For 2014, Mr. Speaker, the NDCs that have prepared their own budget estimates have determined that they want to spend over 125 million on roads. They want to spend approximately 17 million on bridges. They want to spend 7 million on 4 community centers within their neighborhood. They want to spend 31 million on excavation of trenches. This is resources that we make available to them. But I say again that the NDCs and the municipalities also have access to other resources, and they do additional works using those resources. Mr. Speaker, there is a view among some that the work we do at the level of the ministry is restricted or limited to the areas that I just mentioned. But I want to say that, no, it's more than that. And indeed, the ministry is involved in a number of projects.
2014 will see the continuation of projects such as the Caribbean Local Economic Development Initiative, the Mara Agriculture Enhancement Project on the east bank of Berbice that has already been launched, and the Tapakuma Women's Agriculture Diversification Project, the Canal Polders Green Initiative Project, and the Friendship Swine Development Project that is to be launched soon. Aside from these projects, the ministry will also continue with training programs conducted for persons specifically selected by the NDCs, and the livelihood issues are also on stream. He specifically referred to the training program for youths to allow them to take leadership positions in their communities and formulate beneficial projects, with reference to the Youth Empowerment and Inclusion and Reconciliation Project.
The health sector has over the years continuously exposed its staff to training, and this year is no exception as more emphasis will be placed on training for medical professionals.
$21 billion has been allocated to the health sector, of which $428 million has been earmarked to train 20 postgraduate resident doctors and upgrade 4,000 providers countrywide.
I note in the budget, on page 40, in paragraph 476, that significant sums are added to help that sister body, the University of Guyana, grow and improve. I welcome this because we too in health will benefit. And later on, if time permits, you'll see how it integrates into my contribution, because I will be wanting to speak to you about the postgraduate programs that the Ministry of Health, the University of Guyana, the Government of Guyana are crafting so that we can assure not only professional progression of our graduate doctors in Guyana, but at the same time better, more specialized services from those upgraded doctors to the patients.
During the budget presentation, Minister of Health Dr. Barry Ramsaran noted that this year's budget will continue to grow from strength to strength and strive to ensure that the nation's health is kept at a satisfactory level. This year, the sum of $117 million has also been budgeted for an ambulance fleet of 12. This will increase the national fleet by 40%. Medical personnel in this area will also be trained to complement these services.
This country has made bounds, and I do not like to go back 5, 10 years, much less 20 or 25 years. But let me do this. Let's look at the audience. Some of you might not know that. At one stage in this country, the only ambulance that was functioning was a little rackety one that the St. John's Ambulance Brigade had. Why are you laughing, mister? Why are you laughing like that? It's serious. 20 years ago, I think persons like Madam Teixeira might recall that. The only working ambulance in this country was the St. John's Ambulance a little white square vehicle. What a shame that was 20, 30 years ago. Now, what's happening now? What's happening now? The change is there. The change is there. Now, your Minister of Finance has allocated this year again multi-million dollars to strengthen the national fleet of ambulances.
Additionally, as continued focus is placed on maternal health, a sum of $50 million is budgeted to commence the extension of the maternity facility at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation to boost bed capacity, whilst $22.6 million has been allocated for the establishment of maternity waiting homes in the Lethem and Bartika areas to cater for anti-neonatal high-risk mothers.
There's more to come. Please stay tuned.
Parents with school-aged children will achieve a measure of relief with the provision of $10,000 per school year for all school children in the public schools. This from the 2014 budget is in addition to the school uniform voucher, which will continue to be distributed.
Guyana's tourism sector is definitely on the rise. In fact, even in a fledgling stage, it can still rival those of the Caribbean. Now, with an investment of $800 million for the establishment of a hospitality institute, the country is poised to receive even more international recognition.
The provision of $1 billion via the national budget for the execution of cleaning and sanitation works in the nation's municipalities is an indication of government's commitment towards providing a healthy environment and keeping its citizens safe from various diseases spread by insanitary conditions. Half of this amount will be used to clean the capital city of Georgetown and begin the process of restoring it to its former status of the Garden City.
In an effort to save citizens from possible increased electricity tariffs, Budget 2014 has allocated $3.7 billion to support critical capital expenditure for the Guyana Power and Light Inc., while an additional $3.2 billion was allocated to ensure that residents of Linden and Kokwani continue to benefit from electricity at a subsidized rate.
The 2014 national budget has allocated $32.3 billion for education as government continues to emphasize the sector, which has undergone significant transformation in response to the emerging needs of society. A message from the Government Information Agency.
A series of investments will be made this year under the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport, including the launch of the National Youth Policy.
The Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport will continue to run its traditional programs providing educational support to young people who need a second chance at education. The residential programs at the Kuru Training College, New Opportunity Corps, the non-residential programs at Sophia and Brymans Irving have trained hundreds of young people and apprenticed them to job sites.
The President Youth Award Program and the Youth Volunteer Platform continues to offer young people an opportunity to be positive role models in their community. Both of these programs are growing. The President Youth Award Program is expanding with the formation of new units in various regions. This year, we'll expand the pilot volunteer program to more schools. In addition, the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports would like to recognize successful young people who have played a positive role in their communities. Later in the year, we'll start the National Youth Award Scheme. The criteria for these awards will be published shortly, and we encourage everyone to nominate progressive young people for these awards.
During 2013 and into 2014, extensive consultations were held to formulate the National Youth Policy.
A youth steering committee was formed to guide the process, and a stakeholder group was formed comprising of a representative sample of young people to bring the views of their peers. In addition, about 1,000 questionnaires were distributed across Guyana to solicit the views of young people about what they want in this new national youth policy. And after these extensive consultation, a first, then a second, and now a final draft will soon be completed. We are thankful to the Commonwealth Youth Program for their assistance in making the new national youth policy a reality. We envisage that based on the policy, a number of new initiatives will come on stream, including creating structural mechanism for coordination and implementation and addressing concerns and priorities that have been outlined in this document.
With the implementation of these programs, the Minister stated that this year promises to be another good year for the young people in our country.
And that's all we have on this week's program, but before we go, here's a recap of the highlights. More projects and initiatives highlighted during 2014 budget debate, more training for health sector professionals, and national youth policy being finalized. Weekly digest and other government information can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at ginagovgy@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and do join us again next week for another program. Goodbye for now.